Hello to everyone. This is Viewpoint on Noyan TV, and I am Benyamin Poghosyan, Senior Research Fellow at Armenia. Today we will discuss the results and implications of Russian President Putin's state visit to Azerbaijan. Visit took place on August 18-19. President Putin spent one night in Azerbaijan. Last time President Putin was in Azerbaijan in September 2018. It was a short working visit, so 6 years, but of course, in these 6 years, many times President Putin and Aliyev have met. Only 2 times before the state visit in 2024, President Aliyev visited Moscow, and also 2 leaders met at the margins of different international conferences like Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit and etc. So, what brought Mr. Putin to Azerbaijan? I believe we have 3 main issues which are interesting for Russia and which probably were emphasized and discussed in depth during President Putin's visit to Baku. Issue number 1, the use of Azerbaijan as a guise to continue the export of Russian gas and probably also oil to Europe. We all know that Azerbaijan exports gas to Europe through Southern Gas Corridor since late 2020, early 2021. And there were a lot of discussions that some Russian gas also goes to Europe because Russia also exports gas to Azerbaijan. Of course, officially, Baku says that it uses Russian gas only for domestic consumption, thus freeing more volume of Azerbaijani gas to export. But even as some Europeans are telling, no one can be sure what gas is entering from Turkey to Europe through Trans-Anatolian and then Trans-Adriatic pipeline. However, now discussions are underway to bring Azerbaijani gas to Europe even via Ukraine. The Russia-Ukraine agreement to transit Russian gas to Europe via Ukraine will end soon, December 31, 2024. Ukraine and Russia, they have stated that they are not going to sign a new agreement for transit, which is obvious due to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. But then suddenly Ukraine stated that maybe Azerbaijan may export Azerbaijani gas to Europe via Ukraine. Okay, many people start to ask how Azerbaijani gas can reach Europe, or how Azerbaijani gas can reach Ukraine, then later to be transported into Europe. The only way is to use Russian territory and to make reverse flow of Azerbaijani gas, like using the pipelines through Russia, which brings Russian gas to Azerbaijan, using them in reverse direction and bring Azerbaijani gas to Russia, and then from Russia to Ukraine, and then from Ukraine to Europe. But most probably, because Azerbaijan has no sufficient gas even to transport 20 billion cubic meters of Azeri gas via Southern Gas Corridor until 2027, as was agreed by July 2022 Memorandum of Understanding on Strategic Partnership signed by the European Union and Azerbaijan in Baku, then most probably so all this talk about bringing Azerbaijani gas to Europe via Ukraine will be another Ponzi scheme to bring Russian gas or continue to bring Russian gas to Europe, this time not only via Southern Gas Corridor but also via Ukraine transit. Legally, officially, it probably will be called Azerbaijani gas, but most probably it will be the same Russian gas. So this is issue number 1 which could bring Mr. Putin to Azerbaijan. Issue number 2, international North-South transport corridor, and in particular the route which will connect Russia with India via Azerbaijan and Iran. This is very important for Russia as a result of Russia-Ukraine war and significant sanctions imposed on Russia by the West. Russia is now trying to shift its main trade routes from west to east, and here India plays a significant role, and also via India Russia may access some other Southeast Asian markets. Indian Prime Minister Modi visited Russia in July 2024, and definitely the economic context and economic cooperation was one of the top issues discussed between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. And one of the shortest way to bring Russian goods to India is Azerbaijan, Iran, and then from Iranian ports like Bandar Abbas and Chabahar to the Iranian port Mumbai, and then to India and some other Southeast Asia countries. There is a missing railway ring in Iran, Rasht-Astara Railroad Ring, some 165 kilometers, and if it's completed, then there will be direct railway line connecting Persian Gulf Iranian ports like Bandar Abbas and Chabahar, if railroad reaches also Chabahar, to Russia. And most probably, these international North-South transport corridor issues were discussed also during President Putin's visit to Azerbaijan. The third issue is the developments in the South Caucasus. Russia definitely does not want to lose its positions in South Caucasus. Russia understands that it's not realistic to bring back situation to the pre-1991 when it was only Russia as a Soviet Union controlling all South Caucasus. Definitely this is not realistic, but probably Russia would like to maintain its number one role. Yes, other players should be in South Caucasus, United States, European Union, India, Israel, Turkey, Iran as regional powers or middle powers, but Russia would like to be number one among these many actors. And here definitely Russia needs Azerbaijan, and also Russia needs Azerbaijan to counter Turkish influence. Because yes, while the United States, European Union, India, Israel, China, even Pakistan are somehow involved in the South Caucasus, but the only country which wants and potentially has a capacity to counter and to challenge Russian dominance in the South Caucasus is Turkey. And Turkey also is backed by the United States. Turkey is a NATO member state, and despite all the disagreements between NATO, Turkey, United States, still fact is fact that Turkey is firmly anchored in Western structures. Turkey is a member of NATO, is not going to leave NATO, never. Which means that number one concern for Russia, if Russia wants to keep its number one position in South Caucasus, is Turkey. Again, only Turkey can challenge and replace Russia as a dominant player in the South Caucasus. Not Iran, because Iran does not want to do that, and also Iran has to concentrate its resources on the Middle East, its confrontation with Iran, very complex and complicated relation with Saudi Arabia, relation with United States, and etc. And US, EU, China, India, they are still far away, and they are not able to directly challenge Russia and position themselves as the number one player in the South Caucasus. And how to counter Turkey replacing Russia? And Turkey's strategic ally is Azerbaijan. Turkey-Azerbaijan relations are booming, especially after 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war, and definitely Turkey would like to use Azerbaijan as a launchpad for dominance of the South Caucasus and for replacing Russia. And most probably, at least United States will not be against to such developments, because US current foreign policy is very clear. As much Russia and Iran in South Caucasus as possible, and if the only way to reach this is to boost Turkish influence, then why not? Again, despite all disagreements between Turkey and the United States, Turkey is firmly anchored in a US-structured international world order. And definitely Azerbaijan plays a significant role here as a strategic ally of Turkey. Turkey has significant influence of Azerbaijani armed forces and probably also of Azerbaijani security services. And here definitely Russia needs to develop relations with Azerbaijan also to balance Turkey in Azerbaijan, and through balancing Turkey in Azerbaijan, also deterring Turkey to becoming a dominant player in the South Caucasus. The same is in Georgia. Turkey is very active in Georgia, especially during Saakashvili era. Turkey expanded in Georgia, economic and also some political influence. Entire Georgia, but especially the Azeri Autonomous Republic. But also now with his Georgian current government is trying to balance between West, China, Russia, Turkey, which is also good for Russia, because every balancing act of Georgia again means less possibilities for Turkey to become a dominant player in the region. Before 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war, when Armenia-Russia alliance was very clear, also Armenia was used as a deterrence power for potential Turkish dominance in South Caucasus, or Turkey replacing Russia in South Caucasus. But as after 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war, and especially after September 2022 Azerbaijan incursions into Armenia, and September 2023 military takeover of Nagorno-Karabakh by Azerbaijan, Armenian government started to distance itself from Russia, taking steps to come closer to the European Union, expand cooperation with United States, and also making efforts to normalize relations with Turkey, with Azerbaijan, telling that Turkey is no more than existential threat to Armenia, and even some Armenian experts are arguing that Russia is number one existential threat to Armenia instead of Turkey. It means that Russia cannot count only on Armenia, or maybe cannot count on Armenia at all, to prevent Turkey from replacing Russia as a dominant player in the South Caucasus. That is why attention to Azerbaijan, and my understanding is that also President Aliyev is happy to balance Turkey with Russia and not to allow full takeover of Azerbaijan by Turkey, because then there is no guarantee that Turkey will tolerate Azerbaijan's current system of government and President Aliyev's family rule in Azerbaijan. So these three issues were discussed most probably as the top priorities during President Putin's visit to Azerbaijan, and this visit sends another signal. Yes, despite the ongoing war in Ukraine, despite the recent incursion of Ukrainian forces into Kursk region starting from August 6, and complex and complicated situation in Russia-Ukraine war and Russia-Ukraine warfare, still Russia is interested to keep its number one position in South Caucasus. Russia has no intention to allow Turkey to replace Russia as the number one dominant player in South Caucasus. and Russia would like to use Azerbaijan and Georgia to counter Turkish influence, and also to see what will be the end of these Armenia's overtures to the West, what will be the end game, what will be the results, will be any Armenia-Turkey, Armenia-Azerbaijan normalization, will Armenia finally go to the West, or at the end of the day, if there is no Armenia-Azerbaijan and no Armenia-Turkey normalization, and we see that at least Azerbaijan has no intention to sign anything with Armenia, putting preconditions which automatically postpone the signing of any agreement until in 2027. For example, Azerbaijani demand to change the Armenian constitution. Maybe Russia thinks that, okay, if Armenia sees that overture to the West bring nothing, no peace with Azerbaijan, no peace with Turkey, despite Armenia accepting the complete destruction of Nagorno-Karabakh, there is no peace, while Armenia becoming more and more vulnerable, especially southern part of Armenia, Syunik, Vayodzor. Maybe from Russian perspective, Armenia also will come back to this overture to the West and at least will pursue a balanced policy like Georgia. But as of now, Russian efforts to prevent Turkish dominance in South Caucasus most probably will be based on Russian ongoing ties with Azerbaijan and Georgia. Definitely Azerbaijan is number one, because still Georgia, there is the issue of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, which is an obstacle to launch an official normal relations. There is no even diplomatic relation between Russia and Georgia, but again, Russian government looks positively to Georgian efforts to balance its foreign policy. This is all for this time, and we will meet soon.